Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for attending the session on the business value of responsible AI and why it matters. I wish I could be here in person today, but I will be at Cisco Live in Las Vegas during the same time. So this is a pre-recorded session. I wanted to take the time to thank the Trusted AI Summit Committee and more specifically Cathy Flash for giving me the opportunity to present a topic that is very important to me because it aligns my passion for responsible innovation and my 15 years of experience in global business development and customer advocacy. So before digging into the topic, I'm going to spend 1 minute introducing myself a little bit more, and we will then talk about the business value of responsible AI. So let me share my screen. All right. Okay, so again, thank you very much for attending the business value of responsible AI and why it matters. My name is Christelle Momno-Zigah. I currently work at Cisco Systems, where I wear two hats as a senior manager in customer success and also a member of our newly founded Responsible AI Committee. So today I'm going to cover the business value of responsible AI and why it matters. Um, uh, Looking at artificial intelligence and responsible artificial intelligence, I am completely an autodidact. I might have taken two online classes just to learn about the fundamentals of machine learning through GCP, Google Cloud Platform, and an introductory class on artificial intelligence as well. But everything that I have learned so far, and I still have a long way to go, has really been through my learnings, through my research, and obviously now that I am part of the Responsible AI Committee. I really got exposed to the technology, to AI, when I was actually myself working on one of my internal innovations, and where I needed ways to generate faster and more data-driven decisions in order to improve the customer experience. So that's really how I got exposed to AI. And I actually wanted to take the opportunity to do a quick call out to all women and women of color who, like me, do not have necessarily technology background in data science or in computer science. Um, Responsible AI is still a very emerging topic, and we need more of us. We need more of our voices, and we need to take part of the conversation because, unfortunately, we are usually the first to be impacted by a lot of the consequences and unintended consequences coming from some of those technologies. So I do invite all women and women of color to to join the movement because I do believe that it is a movement. I believe that if we want to create a better future for the next generations, it is up to us to do what we have to do and to take part of the conversation again. All right. So looking at and searching more on artificial intelligence and responsible AI, going through my learnings, um, I started to kind of grasp the concept of two sides of the same coin while looking at AI on one side of the coin and RAI or responsible AI on the other. So on one side of the coin, those numbers I know are very familiar to most of you, I'm sure. But we all know that the fourth industrial revolution has already started with AI. And that AI has already changed and is still changing the way we live and work. According to a very famous study from PwC, we know that the potential contribution of AI to the global economy is estimated at $15.7 trillion by 2030, with up to 26% boost in GDP for local economies from AI by 2030. While most attention has been placed on the positive outcomes company realize by the adoption and the use of AI, such as faster and more data-driven decision making, improved customer experience, increased employee productivity, increased employee satisfaction, and increased revenue, we need to be also cognizant of the other side of the coin. Um, there have been growing concerns about the negative, unintended consequences of AI and the frequent, almost daily news about unethical AI practices and growing concerns among employees, customers, partners, and the general public. According to a study from Capgemini in 2019, nearly 9 in 10 executives have encountered ethical issues resulting from the use of artificial intelligence. So what we see is that as AI, ML, artificial intelligence, machine learning rapidly improved, it has struggled to keep up due to the lack of good data, privacy and regulatory policies, and more general risk, including bias and ethical wavering use cases, such as the weaponization of artificial intelligence. So learning about all those different consequences and shortcomings of artificial intelligence, and still very much in favor of moving toward your digital economy and toward ways to augment our capabilities as human beings, I really started wondering what we could do about it. How could we influence top managers and business leaders to invest and adopt responsible AI by not only and solely developing principles and framework? And at Cisco, we do have our set of responsible AI principles, which are transparency, fairness, accountability, privacy, security, and reliability. So how could we incite business leaders, top managers to not only focus on creating principle and framework, but to really actively implement responsible AI practices holistically uh, and also cross-functionally throughout the life cycle of the development of their products. Um, I was wondering how we could make sure that responsible AI would not be seen as another PR or marketing exercise, another check the box type of activity, or as an overhead cost, um, or just an innovation inhibitor. So coming from, as I said in the beginning, 15 years of experience of global business development and customer advocacy and leading growth and transformation in corporations, I quickly realized that demonstrating the business value of responsible AI and why it matters was key. So this is really what we are going to focus on throughout the rest of the conversation. So looking at the business value of responsible AI, and coming again from my experience and my current role in customer experience, responsible AI really helps companies build trusted customer relationships. When customers trust a brand, they are more likely to be loyal to it and to interact and engage with it. Trust leads to companies having better customer retention, better customer spending, and adoption of new services. In a study from Ernst & Young called 5 Ways to Make Trust a Competitive Advantage, 67 of responders to the survey said that a good reputation may get them to try a product, but if they can't trust the company behind the product, they will stop buying. So trust is really a must-have in the data-driven digital economy, making it a critical core competency for enterprises looking to gain an advantage in today's highly competitive climate for customers and for talents. So responsible AI is, from a business outcomes perspective, a way to help companies build trusted customer relationship. RAI, responsible AI, also offer a purpose-driven environment for your employees. So that's the second business value. It can significantly benefit talent acquisition, retention, and engagement, and especially with employees striving for changes and tech for good or technology for good. So according to the Deloitte Global 2022 Gen Z and Millennial Survey, the Great Resignation signals a breaking point and an opportunity to reassess how we work. Pay is still, according to the survey, the number one reason why Gen Zs and millennials left a role in the last 2 years. But aligning with Gen Zs and millennials' values is also key, both representing 46% of the full-time workforce in the US, according to Gallup. So when you look at the Gen Z and the millennials, they represent 46% of the full-time workforce in the US, and they are looking for opportunities to align their work with their personal values, and those values are purpose-driven. So employees want to work in a purpose-driven company. In the same Ernst & Young reports, 64% of millennials today won't take a job if a company doesn't have strong CSR values, corporate social responsibilities value. So again, if you are looking to find ways to retain, to engage your employees and to attract new talent, you need to embrace a responsible AI policy or governance model within your organization. Responsible AI is also a way to help companies enhance their product quality and reduce cost. So companies that incorporate responsible AI practices throughout the product development lifecycle, and I'm really, really insisting on establishing a product development lifecycle with responsible AI across every single stages of the development, as opposed to doing it retrospectively. Those companies will build a competitive advantage through enhanced product quality and cost reductions. Because when firms develop technology in a socially responsible manner and they build capacity for ethical decision making around advanced technology, including to reduce unfair bias against marginalized group and women, again, women of color, we need to be part of the conversation. Their software is far more likely to perform well across all user profiles, which will in turn boost product value. So basically, once you set up the right framework and you execute on the right framework, leading to more equitable and ethical decision making and a reduction of bias, you are able to develop products which are actually catering to all user profiles. You don't leave anyone else out of the table, which increase the value of your overall product quality. So it might take a little bit more time to address those ethical questions, but in the long run, the benefits outperforms the previous investment, and more specifically, the previous investment in time. So when you look at responsible AI and the value of responsible AI to businesses, one of the other business value is really that responsible AI drive better data management, security, and privacy. And when you look at the core principles of responsible AI across pretty much all companies and all technology companies, data security and privacy are key principles in AI, of AI responsibility and governance. And actually, a failure to address flaws in a timely manner can place a significant financial and reputational impact on firms. So there is this study from the Economist Intelligence Unit, EIU, which is an executive survey made in collaboration with Google Cloud Platform, which survey data shows that cybersecurity and data privacy concerns represent the biggest obstacle to AI adoption or implementation by an organization. So companies' growing reliance on user data is really emphasizing the need for better data management, security, and privacy, which will in turn fuel growth in the AI industry with more data sharing, more diverse data sets, which will in turn improve AI outcomes. So there is a big value in really focusing on responsible AI and the core principles on data security and privacy to fuel even more innovation and outcomes in AI in the long run. So when you look at what is happening and what has been happening over the past few years, we are seeing that 2022 promises to bring massive changes in AI regulations. I think that we are all aware there have been a lot of attempts to regulate AI, and they are coming. The US will continue to push for voluntary standards and frameworks through the National Institute for Standards and Technology, the NIST, and the Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers, the IEEE, and they will continue to bring in the forefront regulations and standards and policies uh, to really to protect customers and users, and to make sure that we are avoiding some of the unintended consequences that we are still experiencing on a daily basis. So when you look, and let's stay first in the United States, but when you look at the President Biden administration, they launched the National AI Research Resource Task Force a few months ago to establish AI requirements for security, privacy, civil rights, and civil liberties. But when you look at other governments around the world, and more specifically in China, in Japan, in Singapore, they are, and we know that they will pass algorithmic governance law. Those are inevitable as we speak. In Europe, the AI Act will pass. This is also inevitable. This is ineluctable. And I'm from Europe originally, and I know that this is going to happen because this is how it happens with GDPR. And Europe is really the place which is being said as setting the standards for AI regulations, which will have then implication across the world and which will be adopted around the world. So it is really important for companies today to make sure that they are becoming ready, and they are proactive in their compliance readiness strategy to avoid any type of disruption, because those rules and regulations and policies are definitely going to be adopted, and multiple governments are clearly working around making sure that customers and the general public is more protected. And last but not least, another business value perspective is really around brand management and brand risk and reputation. So branding risk are associated with a lack of responsible AI, at least in the tech industry, and where AI is usually leveraged and implemented. So according to HRR, in an economy where actually 70% to 80% of market value comes from hard to assess tangible assets such as brand equity, intellectual capital, and goodwill, organizations are especially vulnerable to anything that damages their reputation. So again, from a business outcomes perspective, responsible AI can really increase a firm's pricing power in the marketplace through superior brand awareness and reputation management. All right, so what I have been demonstrating is that, in summary, responsible AI is good for business. It helps building trusted relationship with customers and increase customer trust. It helps also drive employee engagement and retention. It enhances product quality. It leads to better data management, security, and privacy. It is really an opportunity to avoid disruption through compliance readiness. And last but not least, it is an opportunity to better better prioritize on brand management and reputational risk. So I know I spent a lot of time talking about the what. What are the business values looking at responsible AI? But to conclude, I just wanted to share a few thoughts on the how. how to achieve responsible AI, um, a responsible AI which is viable for business. And what I believe is that as much as I love, the power and, the scalability of AI, I really believe that we have to double down on keeping a human-centric approach to AI. We just cannot remove the human aspect out of the equation because, as we've seen, it doesn't work. It just does not work. So I believe that by building diverse teams, number one, and I am a big proponent of diversity, inclusion, equity, and belonging, that we will have the ability to avoid a lot of ethical and bias concerns as we have been experiencing over the past few years. And there is this very interesting experiment by MIT, where they were able to couple linguistic experts and data scientists actually in order to create a less biased AI. So when I'm talking about diversing teams, I'm not only talking about socioeconomical or ethnic diversity. I'm really talking about any type and any full spectrum diversity where people will have the ability to continue to share different perspectives to again avoid some of the shortcomings that we've been experiencing in responsible AI. So that's number one, the diversity of the teams. Number two, I think that we definitely need to keep the human perspective while we are trying to resolve complex AI problems around ethics, around fairness, because both concepts are normally defined by culture and communities rather than hard science. So you cannot expect a robot to be the one determining whether an algorithm is fair and ethical. Those are purely human um, human capabilities, and they are again emerging from culture and the cultures and the communities human beings are part of. So we need to keep the human in the center of those complex problems that we are trying to solve with responsible AI. And last but not least, I am a big proponent of AI and more specifically augmented AI. So I believe that with AI augmented human decision making, we are going to find the right balance between the ability to scale, the ability to make faster decision through artificial intelligence. Um, and AI is supposed to augment human capabilities. It's not supposed to replace human capabilities in making decision, for example, faster. So I do believe that we really need to continue to work on augmented AI to accelerate and scale human capabilities instead of focusing on traditional autonomous and independent AI, because we've seen again some of the shortcomings and the challenges and the unintended consequences coming from that that route and that motion. So as a conclusion, I believe that the human needs to be kept at the center of AI to make it responsible. There won't be responsible AI without any human interactions, and the human needs to really be set and kept at the center of artificial intelligence to shape a better future for the next generations. Thank you very much for listening. I hope the session was useful. Oh my God, it's getting dark. I definitely look forward to continue the conversation. I am available on LinkedIn. Don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'm happy to continue to exchange on what your thoughts are on the business value and the business outcomes of responsible AI. Thank you very much.